So I want to return today to John Stuart Mill's autobiography, and this is the beginning of his work, and he's recounting the education his father directed for him to undertake, or basically directed him through, taught him, if you will. But I think there's a kind of a somewhat of a nuanced point in that he wants to make the argument, John Stuart Mill does, that he very much learned on his own. Particularly, he didn't succeed a whole lot. So he has this interesting line where he can say, as far as I can trust my remembrance, I acquitted myself very lamely in this department. My recollection of such matters is almost wholly of failures, hardly ever of success. It is true the failures were often in things in which success, in so early a stage of my progress. Remember, he's learning Greek and Latin at a very young age and doing calculus at the age of 7. Like, he's not going to succeed at that. Was almost impossible. But get this, this is where it gets interesting. So his dad doesn't just nitpick him on his Greek and his Latin. He attack or criticizes, forces him to learn and to kind of defend almost every statement he makes in the home. I remember at some point in my 13th year, on my happening to use the word idea, and he asked what an idea was and expressed some displeasure at my ineffectual efforts to define the word. Now imagine that. How do you define what the word idea means? I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. I mean, it wouldn't be something that I think most people could do off the cuff. And yet, this is what is expected of him. So it's not just, do you know Latin? Do you know Greek? Can you do algebra, geometry, and calculus? Can you speak a foreign language? But can you define the words that you use in everyday speech? He goes forward, and this one I think is really cool. Where his dad, as he explains its meaning, showed the fallacy of the vulgar form of speech I'd used. Well, what was that vulgar form of speech? I recollect his indignation at my using the common expression that something was true in theory but required correction in practice. And how, after making me vainly strive to define the word theory, he explained its meaning and showed the foul, right? And I'm ignorant of the definition of theory, I think, to the level of John Stuart Mill, certainly. But what I assume is what the definition he's getting at is that a theory would have been something rigorously tested, a scientific theory, not a theory as in I think something is happening, therefore I say I have a theory about it. But this is very interesting, I think, because it shows that there's a very practical sense to the education he received, which kind of is juxtaposed with, hey, teach a 3-year-old how to learn Greek. No, he's not learning a language, he's learning how to think, and he's been forced to apply it from a young age. That's a lesson I definitely want to take with me, and I'm really enjoying getting that from this book.